Sadly, I cannot beat anybody like this anymore.
I don't use it anymore. Nobody's going to fall into it.
Maybe the trap that I learned was not that big of a trap.
Honestly, it worked like a pretty long time. I was like, guys, maybe we should start picking up on what's happening here, you know?
Yeah, I know this one. I remember this because it's so vivid. I was playing my first inter-school tournament and a friend of mine who was a very good player told me that if your opponent repeats the Petrov, at that point I didn't know it's Petrov, but if he takes this, you can put your queen here, knight goes back, and you give a check and you win the queen. This was the first trap that I learned, and for years I was of the opinion that knight f3, knight f6, knight takes pawn, you have to play d6, knight e4 is a mistake. But turns out the modern engines now have say that this is playable after queen e2, queen e7, queen e4, d6, d4, takes. This position is actually not so bad for black. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Harika played it in one of her games in classical chess. So yeah, maybe the trap that I learned was not that big of a trap.
Hi, I'm Carissa, and this is the first chess trap that I ever learned. I'm going to explain to you guys today, Scholar's Mate. So we start with e4. Black play e5. Point of e4 is to get this bishop out. So bishop goes to c4. Let's say black plays like knight c6. c6. Now white can go queen h5. Now maybe black's like, oh, that queen's so far out there. Like, let me get a bite of it. Plays like knight f6 to attack the queen. And then you could take on f7, and that's checkmate. Yeah, I won like a bunch of games like this when I was in first grade at my elementary school chess club.
How long did the trap work for you?
Honestly, it worked like a pretty long time. I was like, guys, maybe we should start picking up on what's happening here, you know? But it gave me a huge boost of confidence in my chess club. And then I won the prize for like best first grader. So, I know.
What was the best prize that you ever won doing Scholars Mate? Have you ever Scholars Mated someone to like win the tournament?
Oh, no. I feel like, once you're past like 200, you stop falling for Scholar's Mate.
Yeah, when I was a kid in the year 2000, like basically if you're born before 2000, you're like a normal person, and if you're born after 2000, like I don't even understand how that's possible. I'm born in 95. So when I was a kid, I learned this trap. I would start with pawn to e4, and they would respond the symmetrical, e5, most normal way. I would develop my knight, attacking the pawn. They would develop their queen's knight to c6, defending the pawn, the most common chess position like forever, literally, since the inception of chess. And then here I would develop my bishop, and I'm just like ready for some development of one of these two pieces. This is also known as the Italian game. When I was 7, I don't think I knew that. And then my opponents would develop their second knight, which is what you're supposed to do, also conveniently attacking the pawn. Then I would be like, they're so stupid, they fell for my trap. Knight to g5. What I didn't know, ignorance is bliss when you're 7 years old. All of this has been studied up the ass. Like there's just dozens and dozens of moves you can memorize here, but not when you're a 7-year-old who's rated 700. You attack this pawn, and they block it, and so you take, and they're supposed to move their knight here. They can also play pawn to b5, there's all sorts of moves, but most people just take the pawn back. And they think that's the end of the story, but you actually sacrifice your knight. This is called the fried liver trap. They take with the king, now you attack the king and the knight at the same time with your queen, and the best move for them is to bravely walk the king into the center of the board. White is still doing well here. You keep pressuring this knight and you keep attacking, but a lot of people would fall for this trap. In my very first tournament, I won my very first game like this. My opponent walked the king to safety, only to discover that the king is not safe at all. And I probably beat that child and they never wanted to play chess again. Good, chess is cruel. Sadly, I cannot beat anybody like this anymore, but that's the fried liver trap.
Hi, my name is Tawny, and this is the first trap I ever learned. I'm going to teach you. So, as black, when I was younger, I used to play the Owens defense. This is b6, bishop b7, early fianchetto. White would take the center, and the bishop would go to b7, bishop goes to d3. Sometimes the knight can go to c3. And many people here would actually go f5. Idea to attack the pawn in the center, and then if the pawn takes, then there's bishop takes g2. But watch out because of queen h5, and then because of the king is checked, right? And black is trying to trap the rook. Now we have to defend. The pawn keeps taking. You can't take back because this will be checkmate. It's like double checkmate. And so basically now black would be losing because the knight will come out. And then there's this really, really nice move here. Pawn takes h7. And it might seem that you go g7. Now the knight takes the queen, and then you promote to another queen here. But this wouldn't be as efficient as if, I'll go back to the original position, if you take on h7, and then after knight takes, you go bishop g6 and check. So really, really cool trap.
It's a sick trap. I never,
Yeah.
like, you're the first one to explain that trap.
I mean, I don't know.
My name is Jules Gambit, and I'm going to teach you the first chess trap I ever learned the hard way. This was during my first tournament back as an adult. I was playing a classical game. I thought I was very, very clever. So it was, I believe it was black to move here, here, and then I got hit by the very fun. And what was going through my head, I was like, wait, but this is the Rosalimo, like, this is theory, you know? And it was not. I ended up having to lose my bishop.
So white goes d4. This is actually a bad trap because it just gets worse if white doesn't fall into it. So you give up a pawn, you place the bishop here. Okay, white makes a developing move. You give up another pawn, and you give up a knight as well. So white, like the hope is that white takes here, just pads here and takes here. And now the point is you take here, white takes here, and you take the queen. And the funny thing is, even after the trap, okay, black is of course winning, but it's not as easily winning.
Really? Why is it not as easily winning?
Because for the queen, white still has two pieces, and at an amateur level, I think that can still save a lot of games.
Hi, I'm Divya Deshmukh and I'm going to teach you the second trap I ever learned. The first one is queen f7 mate, so I'm not teaching you that. So it goes with e4, c5, d4, cd4, c3. You take, I think, yeah, knight c3, knight c6, knight f3, d6, bishop c4, knight f6, e5, knight e5, takes. I've won like a million games with this. And now you take bishop f7. This is the trap. So king f7 and queen d8. Queen up. I don't use it anymore. Nobody's going to fall into it.